Welcome. This is our second year implementing balanced calendar. So we did 1 year of planning, and then we implemented balanced calendar. I think the decision was made end of July, 1st of August to run the balanced calendar before school started. So we are a small school district of 805 students. And we have one elementary school, one middle high school, and our balanced calendar. I'll share kind of some things, and then I'll give you time to ask questions at the end. So some of the things that we're going to talk about, let's see here, are why did we decide to adopt a balanced calendar? What an intercession is. Most of you probably know that because you're here, but we'll talk about that. How do we fund the balanced calendar, the pros and cons, and I'm hoping that our union president, Tori Nelson, will speak to that a little bit. And then what do staff have to say about it? Tori Nelson is also one of our teachers. And then if you want to contact us, we'll go through that too. So why balanced calendar? We have been a school of improvement for several years, and we believed that adopting a balanced calendar would be one way to offer additional weeks of education to support our students. And so we adopted a balanced calendar with 3 intercession weeks, so 3 breaks where we could offer additional education, kind of like summer school. And we also then offer 4 weeks of summer school. So our students that choose to attend intercession and summer school get 7 additional weeks of education. And so that really, we've shown with test scores that it really actually is helping. Last year, students that attended all 3 intercessions, none of them went backwards in their tests. So in iReady assessments, they all made gains or stayed the same, which was pretty huge for us because usually they kind of go back a little bit, some of the students. So low test scores, we do have our low passing rate of the state assessment. And so we're hoping that balanced calendar will definitely help raise those scores. It also provides us more options for our students and their families. So we are a low-income school district with 74% free reduced lunch. And so we have a lot of families that are working multiple jobs, and the regular school calendar doesn't always work for them. So we wanted to give them more options for additional meals. So students that attend intercession and summer school get breakfast and lunch. And then also we wanted to offer it gives us a chance to offer kind of a school childcare for families that need it. So a lot of families, these intercession breaks are good for them because they can bring their kiddos into school for an additional 7 weeks. Also, it gives us more options for families and teachers to take breaks when they need it. So we strategically planned our intercession breaks in October and February, and then the spring break week. And the reason we did that was behavior seems to increase in October and February. Staff absences seem to increase in October and February. And so with this calendar, we were hoping that behaviors would decrease and staff would be able to get their doctor's appointments in, do professional development, that type of thing. And so then also what we've experienced is families can take their students on vacation in October and it's not busy. And so we've heard a lot of families really like that. The other reason why balanced calendar was, well, because it was grant funded. So it was one reason. It really helped us. So the first year, I was not on the study team, but as soon as we approved it, I took over balanced calendar in all of the planning of intercessions. And so the grant funding was really helpful in supporting our intercessions because really a balanced calendar does cost more money. So let's see here, I'll go over to the next screen. So intercessions. So what do? So we've changed it a little bit this year from last year. Last year, we offered intercessions to K through 12 students. We are a TTK through 12 school, but we do not offer intercession to TTK students. They're 4 years old, and it's really hard to provide the support we need for those little ones. So we do K through 12. What we found last year was our 9th through 12th graders, we only had about 6 or 7 participate, which was, like 1%, 2% of the students. But in K through 5, we found we have about 40% participate. And then in 6th through 8th grade, we have quite a few participants. So we decided this year to offer K through 8. We offer 4 days of instruction or school. That way we have a Friday off. So teachers that do work it can get an extra day off, a 3-day weekend, and students can kind of enjoy that too. One thing that we do is we allow teachers to teach their passion as long as it's related to math, science, ELA, they have to relate that. We also pick field trips. We let students choose. We have several field trips that they can choose from, and then teachers can teach students based on where they're going to go on that field trip. So this October, we went to Ape Caves was one of them. And so teachers were able to teach outdoor animals, things that kind of went with that Ape Caves field trip. And the field trip is usually on the 4th day. We have a requirement that students attend at least 2 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, something, at least 2 days of intercession to go on the field trip. Otherwise, we would get 100% participation on the field trip. So with every kiddo. So we do require that. What we found is 9th through 12th grade, some of them still need school and they still need credit retrieval. And so what we do is we check out laptops for them. We have a teacher available and they can do learning at home. They can do credit retrieval through we use Apex. They can get caught up on homework and that kind of thing. So that's kind of how that works. How do we fund it? So last year we funded it through the Balanced Calendar grant. I was pretty honest with costs here. Last year, each intercession cost us about $20,000. That's paying for paraeducators, teachers, one-on-ones if we have students sign up that need a one-on-one. That also allowed us to pay for transportation. We do provide transportation to and from. Also our field trips and the curriculum that we might have needed and any supplies. And so that's kind of the cost for that. Secretaries, our principal, also running a balanced calendar. We do have to pay principals a little bit extra because they're not on a 260-day contract. And so they need to stay past their contracted time. So we do have to fund that also. This year, we don't have the balanced calendar funding, so we used Title I funds to help pay for intercession. We cut it back to about $14,000. And right now, we've paid for October's intercession. The board is going to be voting on whether we're going to offer February intercession or not for our students. If they vote that we do, then we will find the funding and probably rework some title funds for that. Let's see here. Then how do we staff it? So we do not, we ask staff to work it. We do not pressure them at all. So I will share later a survey. I do a Google form and I send it out to all staff. And they fill it out. Are you willing to work or not? If they say yes, it takes them to more questions. Which intercessions are you willing to work? If they say no, they stop the survey and they don't need to answer any more questions. I only call the people that say yes, they're willing to work. And then I reach out to them individually and say, what are you interested in teaching? And so what's wonderful is we had a teacher last year that taught 5th grade. And he said, I'd like to teach second during intercession. So, okay. So I put him in a 2nd grade classroom. He said he had the most fun. It got him re-excited for education. And this year he's teaching 3rd grade. So it just kind of was interesting how intercession can actually help our adults and our students. And so then once they say they want to work where they want to work it, they have to say a grade band. So they can say, I want to teach K through 2. Or I want to teach 3rd through 5th. That way I can match them up with something similar because we have, if 3 teachers want to teach the same grade, it's kind of hard to make everybody happy. I also make sure that if teachers can only work 3 out of the 4 days, that we make that work. And so we usually have 1 teacher that signs up that is like a substitute teacher. So somebody that will be there for if someone gets sick, if there's any, they can only make 3 days. And so we need to have someone fill in on a day. So it's really helpful to have an extra substitute teacher available. Then we pay them per diem. and they sign a timesheet. So they're going to fill out their form, just and turn it in, and then they get paid, per hour they work. They get prep time, and then they get planning, some planning time with, like with me. So we talk about what we're going to do over intersession with the calendar, that kind of thing. Okay, so next one. Now, I don't know if Tori is on yet. So I was hoping she could share some of this part with me.
But see her yet. I'll let you know if I see her come in.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and so some pros and cons, and there's probably more than what I listed here, but first, student growth. So we have data. We collected every student that attended. We created a spreadsheet for students that attended just one intersession, two intersessions, and all three intersessions. And then we looked at their iReady pre, mid, and post assessment data. And what we found were students that attended all three intersessions did much better than students that didn't attend any intersessions. The other thing is we talked about before is that extended learning. So students do have up to 7 additional weeks of learning with summer school, and they really get August off, and that's about it. So 4 weeks, and then of course the 2 weeks in December. Also, we support families with this balanced calendar. Some families really like having that 7 additional weeks for their students. They also really like, I see a typo there, sorry. They really like to have, some say childcare. I need the childcare. And so my student is going to come because I need it. And then also they get breakfast and lunch. And we open that up to every student through the district, though, even if they don't attend intersession, they get free breakfast and lunch. So we are a CEP district, and so every student can get that. So those are some of the pros. I would say another pro that I don't have listed here is staff are really enjoying taking some of that time off if they don't work it, that they can do doctor's appointments, go on a vacation that's not so busy. The other thing is staff that do work it, because we're a rural, smaller district, it allows them to get 3 extra weeks of pay if they want that. So it's really quite kind of helpful for that too. Negatives. Really, the biggest negative that I have seen is the extra cost, funding those additional weeks of education. The other thing is we have a need for air conditioning, and one of our schools does not have air conditioning. So we bought a bunch of air conditioners. It really didn't cool it down because last summer, even June, it was a pretty warm time. And so we are actually looking at air conditioning options for one of our buildings. And then the other one that really has come up lately after this calendar, transitions. So some of our students that really can struggle with transitions. So every time we have a break, we have a lot more breaks than the normal calendar. And so kiddos that don't come to intersession, our TTK students or our ECAP students that we don't offer classes during those weeks, their parents have said that it's really hard to get them back up getting ready for school, and we have a few extra weeks of that transition time. So that's been a complaint that we've had. And then also limited staff. So we do have a lot of students that sign up for intersession. We have 35 to 40% of our elementary students, but we only have about 10% of our staff. And so sometimes, thankfully, our high school staff will say, yes, they'll work it. And so they are teaching the lower grades during intersession, and we need it. And the other hard thing is transportation. Our bus drivers also want their break. And so we might have 2 transportation staff willing to drive buses. That makes our bus routes really long for some kids. So we're providing transportation, but we have to drive 2 buses instead of 5 all over the district. And so some kids are on the bus for a long time. So those are some of our pros and cons on that. And let's see here. Whoops, sorry. Okay, so this is where Tori Nelson is going to join us. And if she isn't here right now, we're going to take questions and then we'll come back. Okay, well, actually, I'll tell you what I've heard teachers say, if that's okay. So what I've heard, some teachers, again, really love it. Like one of the teacher that taught 5th grade and then intersession taught 2nd last year, and now as a 3rd grade teacher said that it really just helped him love teaching again. He had so much fun that it really helped him love that. He even had his wife sign up to volunteer and help. She's a educator also, so she came in. Another thing that one teacher said, a second grade teacher last year said, was her students that did intercession, when they taught math concepts, knew a lot more about those concepts than any other kiddo. And so they could end up being helpers in the classroom. So when they were doing, let's say, clocks in intercession, or during intercession, they did clocks in the regular school year, they were able to say, oh, well, I know exactly how to tell time with that. I'll help out. And so she said that was really, really helpful too. So Tori Nelson did join us.
Yes.
And I know she's getting signed in. But so Tori is our TTK through 5th grade PE teacher, and she's our union president. And she said that she would be happy to share teacher side and union side on what they feel about balanced calendar. So Tori, would you like to go ahead and share?
I see her square, but I don't know if she's got her sound and everything going yet.
Okay, let's see. Should we ask her to unmute?
There she comes.
I know you're probably trying to talk to me, but I'm still in my union meeting. But I just jumped in. Give me like 5 more minutes.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Well, let's go ahead and open it up for some questions then, and ask away. Any question? I'm happy to try to answer them for you.
I'm gonna augment if you don't mind. One of the things that we talked about yesterday when Tori and Michelle and I met, that when the board agreed to move to a balanced calendar, they put in their resolution about funding. And that's kind of causing some hurdles right now, because part of the district, and I'm not there, but this is what I'm hearing. Part of the district, they're all in, and part of them aren't, which usually means then part of the board might be all in and part might not be. But when the funding went away, then they've got that piece in their resolution. So if you're thinking about moving towards this, be thoughtful about what parameters you want to put on it, because there really is funding, as Michelle has shown, if you blend and braid some of your state and federal funds. So just a little note of caution, be careful about what kind of wording goes into that resolution, and if it's too restrictive about funding. Because if you're a high needs district that's receiving a lot of state and federal funds, there's so many ways to braid and blend your funding, and we can talk about that another time, but just a little caveat there. And then the other piece is, I think you need to know some of the context, is the superintendent who wanted to move this district in the direction of a balanced calendar is not there this year. And so sometimes when you lose the executive sponsorship, that can cause some issues. So as you're studying and thinking about a balanced calendar, really thinking about distributing your leadership and the roles of sponsorship for this work, so that it's no one person's idea or one person's baby, so that it doesn't die on the sword when somebody walks out the door. So just a couple lessons from the Winlock story that I'm aware of. Michelle, did you want to add to any of that?
Yeah, actually, braided funding. So we do braid funding, and one thing that we braid with is migrant. And we also braid with 21st Century. So 21st Century is our summer program and our after school program. So what we did this time to cut costs a little bit on our end was 21st Century paid for the para educators. And then Winlock School District funds paid for the teachers. Also, 21st Century allowed us to use a lot of their technology and items that they've purchased to help save our costs in that. And then also community input. So you were talking about how do we go through getting a balanced calendar? I would say one thing that our district didn't do well enough, and it was due to contract language. is getting community input in the calendar. So the Balanced Calendar Committee consisted of parents, teachers, principals, board members, but not enough input was given from the community. So when the balanced calendar was approved, community was upset. Some community members were upset. One of the biggest concerns that we had from community were once we implemented the balanced calendar, and school is going through the end of June, so June 29th, and that concern from family members were, what about our kiddos that have to go to another parent over the summer? And the court says they need to leave, June 20th. Well, they don't get to change court decision based on our calendar. And so we had said that we will work with those families and provide them with a Chromebook, allow them to do additional work, although they are missing on, those last couple weeks of school. And so that was kind of tough for those families. The other concern that we have seen with balanced calendar too, and this is more staff and students, sports camps. A lot of sports camps happen the last 2 weeks in June. And so those students usually don't get to attend. And then also AWSP conference is the last week in June. So we didn't get to attend. And so some of those conferences are at the last part of June, which are hard.
Sharon, do you mind if I ask a question? Michelle, fantastic job. In your presentation, you talked about intercessions and then how you were able to reduce some of the rates. Do you mind just kind of going over some of the intercessions? Because I know a lot of people are always interested in what the intercessions are, as well as how were you able to reduce some of that rate? I think that would be really good information.
Sure. So what we do is when parents register for intercession, so they have to sign up in advance because I need to know how many to plan for. In their registration, they can select things that they believe they need their child to work on. So they might need additional support in reading or in math. And so then I share that with all the teachers. And so whoever's teaching those kiddos, and they can work specifically on that. And so I think that's one way. And then also staff want a list of who attends intercession so that they are able to say, oh, this kiddo needs this, or can we work on this specific task?
Hey, Tori, are you with us now?
Yes, I sincerely apologize.
Too many hats.
Literally and figuratively, yes. Yes.
So Michelle has pretty much given her presentation, but would you like to share some of your thoughts about the journey, lessons learned, staff, union, any of those things?
Yes, I'm going to move into this other room. There's still people in here talking. Go figure. Teachers like to talk.
Tori, I did introduce you twice.
Great. So first of all, I will say that when I heard about the first time I heard about Balanced Calendar, I was sold from the first second. I heard there's a break in October and I was in. So I was super excited about it. But the journey getting there was pretty brutal, I will say. As a whole, we rushed the process. I think our intent was good. But we definitely rushed the process, partially because we were reaching a full opener with our CBA. And according to our CBA, it is a negotiable item, the calendar. So I think that was part of the reason we pushed it, but we didn't include community input. And I think because of that, a lot of people have a bad taste in their mouth about the calendar. And so their opinion has nothing to do with what it's actually doing for us now. It's basically stems from how it came about. However, the teachers who were not on board at first, mainly were not on board because they didn't know how the community felt about it either. And they didn't want to agree to something that they knew the community, or that they didn't know the community's opinion of. So one thing we did do is add language to our CBA about having the community have input on our calendar from here on out. And then the teachers who were a little skeptical about it because of that, I think many of them have gotten on board with the calendar itself. I think those breaks are helping with the burnout. That was my number one push was the burnout piece, because in my position I hear a lot of the negatives from everyone as the union president, and just as, I don't know, just I must have a sign on my head that says, tell me all the awful things that are happening in your life. So I am hearing less of that negative stuff, which is nice about the calendar, but I think a really big piece is that burnout thing. And I know that the push is, of course, this is best for kids, but what's best for kids is having teachers who aren't burnt out and who are rested and feeling, good. I know that taking that October break is so huge. Everybody's sick anyway. So you're getting your first cold of the year. Everybody's exhausted. And, there are a select few who think that kids are just hitting their stride. And then they go on break and they come back and they're crazy, which there is some truth to that. But still the teachers are feeling a lot better. So that's helpful. But it was a rough journey to get us there, and it still can be a little bit on my side of things, just because, like I said, I get to hear all the negatives. But my advice would be, take your time and include as many different opinionated people as you can, community members, paraeducators, parents, all of that. We did it too fast, but now look at us. I think we're going to be starting a trend here. So who knows?
Hey, Tori and
Yes, sir.
Michelle, quick question for you. It's Tim Newboom from Central Valley School District in Eastern Washington, and a Toledo high school graduate, and understand the Battle of the Cowlitz. And Sharon understands that too. But, I'm curious, I'm the associate superintendent for human resources, worked in our district for 15 years. We have very strict contract language around 2 weeks at Christmas time, don't start until after Labor Day, certain things of that nature, part of the collective calendar committee. I'm just curious. I get worried, and I've been talking to our association president. We have great union relationships with our association. When we get down the road in the community and they're really in favor of it and 2,000 employees are not, do we create this divisive nature, and, we're a large school district, so we have a little different special interest groups, variety. So I'm just curious, Tori, I just appreciate your perspective. This may not have been your first thing, but just maneuvering that, what guidance do you have in that?
Well, I will say two things. One, our initial language was a perpetual calendar. So basically it told us, if Labor Day falls on this date, then you start prior to Labor Day. And it was about 7 pages of just a bunch of that stuff. So this, and then the reason that we didn't go out to the community to get opinions is because of the language, but also Dr. Cameron, who was our superintendent at the time, played it off like, if the community's going to be mad at someone, we would rather have them mad at the district than the teachers. So we also played that card as teachers. That was nice. Like, oh, if you want to be mad at someone, this is the district's idea. Even if the teachers are supporting it, the district's the one that's shoving it down our throats. And I don't have any great advice for if your community wants it and your teachers don't. Other than I know that change is hard, and finding a few people who are on board to start talking positively to any, teachers that they can about it. That was basically how we got so many teachers on board. We only have 41 teachers, I think, in our bargaining unit. So we only needed 22 to say yes. But a lot of it was, I was just talking to them about, here's what I think is so great about it. Here's what I learned at other school districts about it. And that kind of trickled, there's some who just hate change. And so it's like, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of change my own self, but sometimes it's for the better. Like what we're doing now is not working. We choice out, Michelle, is it like we choice out 100 kids or so, and then we choice in maybe 30? And
Yeah,
so
that's
like,
correct.
maybe this calendar, maybe people are going to like it and we're going to get some of those kids back. It doesn't really affect sports negatively in any way. And I know that that was a huge piece for a lot of people in a small town. The only difference sports wise is that now fall sports have a week off that they have to worry about. Winter sports have always had breaks they have to worry about. Spring sports have always had spring break. So now fall sports have a week off that they have to worry about, which is not, as a coach, it's kind of nice. You can have practice in the middle of the day if you want.
So as you brought a committee together, my wonderment is was there preliminary work that was done with your associations? We have 4 associations. We have our coaches, we have our principal group, we have our teacher group, we have our classified staff, PSE, and they all are collectively part of our developing our annual calendar.
Yeah.
Like I wonder, was there work done ahead of time? Because I know in working with my certificated association president, he's doing some preliminary surveying of staff. Like, was that done? I mean, I just think about like how you roll this out so that we aren't pitting. I want to protect our associations as well and our employee groups. And so I'm just curious of any nuggets of wisdom there. Like, did you do some precursory work before you even brought in the community in this to see if this is even going to float?
So
Sadly, not really. Go ahead, Michelle.
yeah, so I'd like to say district level wise, I was not involved in the planning of it. However, I do recall hearing some conversations at the district level. And so one thing that was said was we need to get some people on the committee that are against balanced calendar. We need to get them on and we need to make sure we tour some schools, see what so that they can see what that's like. And I think that, Tori, I don't know how many people were against it when we started, but I know that was a goal to have those naysayers on that committee.
And we did, and our committee was not very big. We had 2 school board members who were already on board. We had our superintendent and then I don't know what Megan was at that time, our technology coordinator. I don't think she was a business manager yet, but she was also on board. And then we had a couple teachers and a couple paras. There were a few people who were not on board, but we certainly did not have a big enough size of committee, I don't think, because we went to school districts who were already doing it and they only have great things to say about it. And then of course, all the naysayers wanted research and they wanted to know this absolutely is going to change test scores. And those are things that we can't provide. We have no idea what's changed. Even if our scores do go up soon, maybe it's not the calendar, maybe it's new admin, or maybe it's new curriculum, or who knows. But I wish that we would have slowed down and taken opinions from all of those different chunks of people. It probably would have made things a lot smoother. Because now we're just trying to unruffle feathers now that it's going. But
Tim, I know that Mount Vernon has been in this journey for a couple years, and their steering committee or study committee, or everybody calls it something different, whatever Mount Vernon is calling theirs, they have representation from each of the bargaining units on their study group. And they have found that to be very beneficial. They also have key stakeholders in the community that are on that study committee, so that it's not just the school district looking at it, and then parent representation on that committee. So if you want to know more about their journey, I can put you in contact with them. But Ismail was clear that he was going to have representation from every bargaining group. And if I remember correctly, they aren't all the president, but I'm not sure about that.
yeah.
And I know Ismail very well, so I can reach out to him.
Yeah, it is.
He's done some serious communication with the community. He's got some very clear, tight systems in place so that that's happening. So he might be a dandy to talk to about that.
Thank you.
I would also say if you're getting a committee together, try to go to some schools and ask them to get people to talk to that like balanced calendar and that don't like balanced calendar.
Yeah.
Students, staff, and families. It's important to get all of those groups together, because I like people when I would ask, hey, would you be willing to be interviewed? They're like, I don't have anything good to say about it. That's okay. I still want you to be interviewed, because people need to know all sides of this balanced calendar before making a decision.
Yep.
I have a quick, oh, sorry, you guys.
No, go ahead.
Thank you. Peter Elsey here from 9 Mile Falls School District. And so we're just right outside of Spokane Public Schools. And so I don't know exactly where Winlock is, but did you have surrounding districts that, so for us, many of our teachers and our staff work or live in Spokane or in Meade, another large school district close by. And so just obviously our thinking is we need to know as much as we can, because as these larger districts maybe move in this direction, how that's going to affect. So I didn't know if you had any of that happening as well. Your
We
surrounding
don't have
districts.
anyone around us.
Okay.
We have one,
We have
one
also,
school in Kelso.
Okay. And are they a balanced calendar?
There's just one building in Kelso that is, it's not a
one in their
district.
whole district. Yeah, it's one elementary school, and that's, I don't know how they do that.
Okay.
where
So
the whole-
Peter, are you thinking that the other districts, the bigger districts are gonna go before you, and so you wanna be in, or opposite?
I'm not sure what they're thinking. I just know that we need to be on the same page with those surrounding districts, because it'll definitely affect our employees and our staff, because we have kids that are in maybe those other districts and teachers that are here
Yep.
and vice versa, because we're just so close. So we share that.
Mhm.
I mean, it will be I believe that our region will probably have to be pretty close. Like, I don't know if we have too many out in Central Valley, but I'm sure he's gonna have the same, Tim's gonna have the same issue if some of these larger districts close by make some of these decisions.
Well, even when we gather our annual calendar committee that's representative of principals and, our principal association, classified association coaches and teachers, it's, well, my kids live over here in Spokane, so we need to make sure we have the same spring breaks. We need to make sure we have the same Christmas breaks. They reside outside of our district, commute in, and their kids go to that other district. So they're looking for that parallel calendar for their family structure in that.
And that's one thing about what we did. Our winter break stayed the same, so it's still the same as everyone else around here. Our spring break is still the same. The biggest difference is the week off in October and the week off in February, and then we tack on some days in June. And I've heard we do have a few teachers who have kids in other districts, and a couple have said they really like the break where their kids are at school and they're at home. It's a real break. My kid goes to this school, so my break is not a real break like that. But that is certainly something to consider, because, as much as we teacher wise all want to say that if this is what's best for kids, then let's do it. The reality is a lot of teachers are like, well, I don't want to take a week off in October. I don't want to go till the end of June. I like my summer months. But I think the best question that we asked anybody is, tell me what about your current old school calendar works for you. Why is it so great? What is it doing for you that is so great? And those people have a hard time answering that question, because really, what is so great about it? It's like 100-year thing. And I will say, as a union, we do plan to survey the community to get some feedback before we do go negotiate again. Because if a large majority of the community hates it and is against it, that's certainly going to weigh into how our union feels about it as well. But
We're winding down. We just have a little bit of time. 2 quick thoughts about that, Peter, is Highland School District has districts, their balanced calendar, and most of their teachers do not live in their district. So you might want to connect with them. And then secondly, David Hornak, who's one of our gurus, he's in the other room. He runs a district where they have 2 different calendars. And it's just like Tori says, all this, the spring break, the Christmas, those breaks are all the same. They're all common. And then the balanced calendar just has additional days at the other end of those, as well as the October break. So there's ways to do that. So before they just make us go, thank you, Michelle and Tori, so much.
Thank you guys.
for
Thank you so
explaining.
much. Great job.
Thank you.
Anytime with any questions, I'm happy to answer anything.
And we'll see
Yep.
you all back in the main session.
Send us an email if you have any questions.